They told you to hide your dark side, to bury the thoughts, the rage, the hunger that don't look good. But what if that darkness isn't evil at all? Carl Jung revealed that the shadow, the part of you you're most afraid to face, is actually the raw fuel of your strength, creativity, and freedom. The power you're searching for isn't in the light. It's waiting inside the very place you've been taught to fear. Today, we're not running from it. We're unlocking it. Welcome to Silence Depth, the place where Carl Jung's deepest insights meet the power of self-discovery. Today, we step into the shadow, not to escape it, but to awaken the strength it's been holding for you. Every human life contains a secret room, a place we keep locked even from ourselves. It is where our forbidden thoughts hide, where impulses we don't want to admit still breathe. Carl Jung called this hidden dimension the shadow. Most people hear that word and think of evil, danger, or madness. We imagine the shadow as a villain to defeat. But Jung's discovery was far more radical. The shadow is not a monster waiting to destroy you. It is a treasure chest of raw energy, instincts, and power that society taught you to fear. From the moment we are born, we are trained to divide ourselves. Parents, teachers, and culture reward certain qualities: politeness, obedience, achievement, and quietly punish others. Maybe you learned that anger was bad, so you buried your rage. Maybe you were told boys don't cry or girls shouldn't be too bold, so you locked away tenderness or ambition. Over time, every "no, don't be like that" becomes a brick in a wall. Behind that wall, a second self takes shape: the shadow. The shadow is everything you reject in yourself. It might include the aggression you suppress to stay nice, the sexuality you deny to appear pure, or the ambition you hide to seem humble. But these buried traits don't disappear just because you hide them. They live on, pulsing in the dark, influencing your choices from beneath consciousness. They erupt as sudden outbursts of anger, secret fantasies, or strange dreams. Jung warned that what you resist not only persists but grows in size. The more you fight the shadow, the more power it gains. Here lies the paradox. We spend years trying to be only light, kind, rational, spiritual, yet our unacknowledged darkness quietly drives our lives. Have you ever snapped at someone and later wondered, where did that come from? That is the shadow speaking. Have you ever felt drawn to dangerous relationships, risky decisions, or unexplained fears? That is the shadow pulling strings. It is not evil. It is a part of you asking to be seen. Jung believed that wholeness, not perfection, is the true goal of human growth. Wholeness means bringing the rejected parts of yourself back into the circle of consciousness. Instead of killing the shadow, you learn to integrate it. Imagine the shadow as a wild animal, powerful, instinctive, untamed. You can try to cage it, but it will only grow more feral. Or you can approach it with respect, learn its language, and let its strength become your ally. The rewards of this integration are profound. Hidden within the shadow are the very qualities you need to feel alive. Your buried anger can become courage. Your denied sexuality can become passion and creativity. Your suppressed ambition can become the drive to build a meaningful life. When you reclaim these energies, you stop living as a half-person. You feel more authentic, more grounded, more capable of love and action. The shadow, once feared as evil, reveals itself as a source of vitality. But there is a price. Meeting the shadow requires honesty. You must look at the parts of yourself you were taught to despise. You must admit that you are capable of selfishness, jealousy, cruelty, and also immense strength, passion, and brilliance. This is not a comfortable journey. It is a descent into the underworld of your own mind. Yet Jung insisted it is the only path to real power. Light without darkness is incomplete. A self without its shadow is an illusion. As we begin this journey together, remember, the shadow is not here to destroy you. It is here to complete you. The darkness you fear is holding the key you've been searching for all along. The shadow rarely walks up to you and announces its presence. It prefers disguise. Instead of saying, "Here I am," it hides in the folds of daily life. Inside emotions you dismiss, habits you justify, and judgments you fling at others. To work with your shadow, you must first learn to spot its fingerprints. One of the clearest signals is projection. Jung observed that we often see in others what we cannot face in ourselves. Think about the traits you despise most in people. Maybe arrogance sets your teeth on edge, or laziness makes you furious. The intensity of that reaction is a clue. The shadow lives in the gap between what you notice and what you deny. When someone else's behavior feels like a personal attack, ask yourself, what part of me is trying to speak through this irritation? Perhaps the arrogance you condemn is a reflection of your own buried desire for recognition. Perhaps the laziness you judge hides your own secret longing for rest. Another sign of shadow activity is emotional overreaction. Have you ever found yourself unreasonably angry over a small comment or strangely fearful of a harmless situation? That surge of energy is not random. It is the shadow breaking through the surface. When a minor event triggers a major storm, pause before blaming the world. Instead, look inward. What truth is this feeling trying to reveal? Strong emotions are not enemies. They are messages from the hidden self. The shadow also expresses itself through dreams and fantasies. Jung devoted much of his career to analyzing dreams, believing they are the language of the unconscious. In dreams, the shadow often appears as a dark figure, a rival, a wild animal, or even a loved one behaving strangely. These images are not literal threats. They are symbols of qualities you need to reclaim. If you dream of being chased, perhaps you are running from a part of yourself. If you dream of fighting, perhaps you are wrestling with desires you refuse to accept. Keeping a dream journal can reveal patterns that daylight thought tries to erase. Beyond dreams, the shadow leaks into everyday slips of the tongue, sudden impulses, and unexplained attractions. Maybe you blurt out something cruel and then say, "I don't know where that came from." Maybe you feel drawn to someone completely unlike your usual type. These moments are not accidents. They are invitations. The shadow wants to be known, and it will use any doorway it can find. Recognizing these signs requires courage and compassion. Courage, because you will see things you once labeled unacceptable. Compassion, because self-judgment only drives the shadow deeper underground. Jung advised approaching the shadow the way you might approach a frightened animal, with patience, respect, and steady presence. Instead of condemning what you find, try to understand it. Ask, why did I learn to hide this part of myself? What gift might it contain? This awareness is more than self-analysis. It is the beginning of transformation. The moment you notice a projection, you reclaim power. No longer controlled by unconscious forces, you can choose a conscious response. The moment you welcome a difficult emotion, you recover the energy it carries. Anger becomes assertiveness. Fear becomes intuition. Desire becomes creativity. Each act of recognition is a small reunion with your full self. Remember, the shadow is not a single enemy to defeat once and for all. It is a lifelong companion. As you grow, new aspects of the shadow will appear, reflecting deeper layers of your potential. The goal is not to finish the work, but to stay in relationship with it. By recognizing the shadow in daily life, through projections, emotions, dreams, and slips, you begin to dissolve the barrier between the conscious and unconscious mind. Recognizing the shadow is only the beginning. Awareness shines a light on the hidden room, but the door is still closed. Integration is the act of stepping inside, meeting what you've denied, and bringing it into conscious life. Jung called this the path of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, authentic human being. Integration begins with radical honesty. You cannot work with a shadow you refuse to admit. Instead of judging the qualities you uncover, approach them like a scientist studying a rare element. Anger, envy, lust, greed, these are not moral verdicts. They are forms of energy. Energy is neutral until you give it direction. The same fire that burns can also warm a home. When you look at your shadow without fear, you reclaim that energy and choose how to use it. A practical way to start is dialogue. Jung often asked his patients to write or speak to the shadow as if it were a separate person. Sit in a quiet space, open a journal, and let the hidden voice respond. Ask, what do you want me to know? What are you protecting? At first, the answers may surprise or disturb you. That is natural. The shadow has waited a long time to be heard. Over time, this dialogue reveals not a monster but a neglected ally, a part of you that wants integration, not destruction. Another path is creative expression. Art, music, dance, or even improvisational play can give the shadow safe form. Because the shadow is older than language, it often speaks through images and movement. Paint without judging the result. Move your body without planning the steps. Let symbols and shapes emerge. Jung himself used a practice called active imagination, drawing and painting visions from his unconscious. Through creativity, the shadow finds a voice, and its raw energy transforms into insight and inspiration. Equally important is owning your projections. When you notice a strong reaction to someone, anger, admiration, jealousy, pause before blaming them or elevating them. Ask, what is this person carrying for me? Maybe the colleague you envy represents ambition you've disowned. Maybe the celebrity you idolize reflects courage you secretly possess. By claiming these projections, you withdraw the energy you once scattered onto others and return it to your own growth. Integration does not mean acting out every impulse. It means acknowledging the impulse so it no longer controls you from the dark. For example, recognizing your capacity for aggression allows you to set firm boundaries without violence. Owning your sexual energy lets you channel passion into creativity or intimacy without shame. The shadow becomes a source of choice rather than compulsion. This work is rarely comfortable. As you integrate the shadow, old identities crumble. The nice person, the good child, the always strong one may no longer fit. Relationships may shift as you stop playing roles that kept others comfortable, but the discomfort signals growth. The energy once trapped in repression now fuels authenticity, vitality, and presence. People often report a new sense of aliveness, as if colors are brighter, music deeper, and relationships more real. Integration is not a single breakthrough. It is an ongoing relationship with the parts of yourself that were once strangers. Each time you welcome a hidden quality, you expand your inner territory. Each time you act with conscious choice instead of unconscious reaction, you reclaim power. Slowly, the shadow ceases to be an enemy. It becomes a guide, an inner companion reminding you that darkness and light are not opposites, but partners in the dance of a full life. When most people imagine their dark side, they picture chaos, danger, or sin. Yet Carl Jung insisted that the shadow is not simply a container for destructive urges. It is also the birthplace of some of our greatest human gifts. What we repress is not only what society calls bad, but also what our families, schools, or cultures failed to value. Buried alongside anger and fear are courage, creativity, and untapped potential waiting to be reclaimed. Think about a child who loves to sing but is told to be quiet, or a young boy who shows tenderness and hears that real men don't cry. Those messages teach us which emotions and talents are acceptable. Over time, even positive qualities can be exiled into the shadow. Maybe your boldness was labeled arrogance, your curiosity called troublemaking, or your sensitivity dismissed as weakness. To stay safe and loved, you hid those traits. Years later, you might wonder why life feels flat, why passion fades, or why a restless energy keeps knocking from within. The answer often lies in the very qualities you were forced to abandon. One of the most profound gifts of the shadow is vital energy. Repression is exhausting. It takes enormous effort to keep natural instincts locked away. When you begin to integrate the shadow, the energy once spent on suppression flows back into creativity, ambition, and love. People often describe feeling more alive, as if a hidden power source has been switched on. Projects that once felt impossible suddenly carry momentum. Relationships become richer because you no longer waste energy pretending to be someone you are not. Another hidden treasure is authentic emotion. By facing the shadow, you reclaim the full spectrum of feeling: anger that protects boundaries, grief that honors loss, joy that celebrates existence. Emotions that once terrified you become guides rather than threats. Anger, for example, is not merely destructive. It signals when values are violated. Fear can sharpen awareness. Even envy can reveal desires you have neglected. Each feeling carries information about what matters most to you. The shadow also holds creativity and imagination. Many artists, writers, and innovators credit their greatest breakthroughs to encounters with their darker inner worlds. Jung believed the unconscious speaks through symbols and dreams, offering insights beyond rational thought. When you welcome the shadow, you open the door to images, stories, and solutions your conscious mind could never invent. The very chaos you once feared becomes a wellspring of originality. There is also the gift of resilience. Meeting the shadow teaches you that you can face uncomfortable truths and survive. Each confrontation with a hidden fear builds psychological strength. You discover that you are not defined by any single trait, neither saint nor villain, but a complex, evolving whole. This resilience spills into daily life. Setbacks feel less catastrophic, criticism less threatening, because you know your worth is not dependent on maintaining a flawless mask. Finally, the shadow offers the gift of genuine connection. When you accept your own imperfections, you stop demanding perfection from others. Relationships deepen as judgment softens. You can hold space for the struggles of friends, partners, and even strangers because you recognize those struggles within yourself. Compassion replaces condemnation, and love becomes less about control and more about presence. These gifts do not appear all at once. They emerge gradually as you make room for the parts of yourself you once rejected. The process requires patience and self-compassion. Some days will feel like breakthroughs, others will feel like setbacks. But every step toward integration, every moment of honest self-recognition, returns a piece of the life force that has always been yours. In embracing these hidden treasures, you begin to understand Jung's radical message. The shadow is not a prison of evil, but a reservoir of power. By turning toward the very darkness you were taught to fear, you recover the energy, creativity, and love that make you fully alive. Awareness reveals the shadow, and acceptance begins to free its energy. But integration is a living practice. It is not a single epiphany or a weekend workshop. It is a way of relating to yourself, day after day, until the boundary between what you show the world and what you hide slowly dissolves. Jung described this journey as individuation, the process of becoming the person you were always meant to be, not the person you were trained to perform. The first step on this path is consistent self-observation. Each day offers opportunities to notice projections, sudden emotions, or unconscious habits. Instead of judging or suppressing them, treat these moments like messages. When you feel a surge of jealousy, pause. Ask, what is this emotion pointing toward? Perhaps it reveals a dream you've abandoned. When anger flares, ask, what boundary needs protection? Regular reflection, through journaling, meditation, or quiet walks, keeps you in dialogue with the hidden self. Over time, you become less reactive and more curious, less a victim of inner storms, and more a witness to their wisdom. Next comes conscious choice. Recognizing a shadow impulse does not mean acting on it blindly. Integration means you see the full range of your instincts and then decide how to use their energy. Suppose you uncover a deep competitiveness. Instead of pretending it doesn't exist or letting it erupt in destructive rivalry, you can channel it into healthy ambition, athletic discipline, or creative excellence. The shadow provides the raw fuel. Consciousness provides the steering wheel. A powerful companion on this path is ritual. Because the shadow speaks in symbols, rituals create a bridge between conscious and unconscious mind. These need not be religious. They can be personal practices that mark your intention to welcome what was once rejected. Lighting a candle before journaling, creating art after an intense dream, or walking alone at night to reflect on hidden fears can all become sacred acts of integration. Such rituals signal to the psyche that you are willing to meet it halfway. Support from trusted relationships is also invaluable. While the shadow is deeply personal, it thrives in isolation. Sharing your journey with a therapist, mentor, or close friend provides both accountability and perspective. Others can mirror qualities you cannot yet see and hold you steady when the process feels overwhelming. Jung himself emphasized the importance of dialogue. The unconscious becomes clearer when spoken aloud. As you walk this path, expect resistance. The ego, your conscious identity, often fears the loss of control. Old habits may tighten their grip, and loved ones may struggle with the changes they sense in you. Remember that discomfort is not failure. It is evidence of transformation. Each layer of resistance you meet and move through strengthens your capacity for authenticity. Over time, the fear of losing your old self is replaced by the relief of living as your true self. Integration also brings unexpected joy. The energy once locked in repression flows into everyday life. You may notice a sudden desire to create, to laugh, to love with a depth you once thought impossible. Decisions feel clearer because they arise from the whole of your being, not just a carefully edited fragment. Even challenges take on a new meaning. Difficulties become invitations to uncover yet another hidden strength. Walking. The path of integration is less about reaching a final destination and more about cultivating an ongoing relationship with your inner world. Each moment of awareness, each conscious choice, each small act of self-acceptance weaves another thread into the fabric of wholeness. The shadow does not disappear. It becomes a trusted companion, an inner guide reminding you that every piece of your humanity, light and dark, belongs to the story of who you truly are. Integration is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new way of living. When you no longer spend energy hiding parts of yourself, life feels different, richer, fuller, and more unpredictable. You start to experience reality through the eyes of a complete person, rather than a carefully edited mask. This wholeness brings a sense of freedom that is subtle but unmistakable. One of the first changes you may notice is a deep calm. Because you are no longer at war with yourself, inner conflicts lose their sharp edge. Emotions still arise, anger, jealousy, fear, but they no longer feel like enemies. Instead, they become information, guiding you toward necessary actions or deeper understanding. You can listen without panic. A flash of anger becomes a signal to protect a boundary. A wave of sadness becomes an invitation to honor a loss. Life's ups and downs stop feeling like personal failures and start feeling like natural movements of the soul. This inner peace creates a new authenticity in relationships. When you accept your own darkness, you stop demanding that others hide theirs. You no longer need people to be perfect to feel safe. Friends and partners sense this openness. Conversations deepen. Vulnerability feels less dangerous. Conflicts become opportunities for growth instead of battles for dominance. You can love more freely because you are no longer secretly afraid of being fully seen. Living with your whole self also awakens creative power. Energy that once fueled repression now flows into action. You may find yourself drawn to art, writing, music, or problem-solving with a fresh intensity. Ideas come more easily because you are tapping into the vast reservoir of the unconscious. Jung believed this creative force was not just personal, but archetypal, connected to the collective unconscious that binds all human beings. When you live in dialogue with your shadow, you become a channel for insights that feel larger than your individual mind. Another gift is resilience in the face of change. Because you know yourself more fully, external events lose their ability to define you. Success and failure, praise and criticism, gain and loss, they still affect you, but they no longer dictate your worth. You can face uncertainty without collapsing because you trust the deeper self that remains constant beneath shifting circumstances. This resilience is not cold detachment. It is a grounded confidence that whatever happens, you have the inner resources to meet it. Yet wholeness is not a permanent state of bliss. Integration does not erase pain, conflict, or mistakes. Instead, it gives you the capacity to face them without self-destruction. Shadows will continue to emerge in new forms as life unfolds. Old wounds may reopen, new desires may challenge your identity, and unconscious patterns may surface when you least expect them. Living with your whole self means accepting this ongoing dance. You meet each new shadow with curiosity rather than fear, knowing it carries another piece of your evolution. Daily practices help sustain this relationship. Meditation, journaling, therapy, or creative rituals keep the dialogue alive. Physical movement, walking, dancing, yoga, can ground the energy that integration releases. Acts of service or kindness help channel reclaimed power into the world. These practices are not chores. They are conversations with the deepest parts of yourself. To live with your whole self is to embrace paradox. You are both light and dark, strong and vulnerable, selfish and compassionate. Instead of choosing one side, you allow all of them to coexist. This is the freedom Jung envisioned, a life where nothing essential is denied, where every emotion and impulse finds a rightful place in the larger pattern of your being. In the next section of this journey, we'll explore how bringing this inner wholeness into society can quietly transform the world around you. Because when one person lives authentically, the ripple touches everyone they meet. When you begin to live as a whole person, the changes within you cannot help but spread outward. Carl Jung believed that personal integration contributes to what he called the collective unconscious, the shared psychic field of humanity. Your work with your own shadow is not a private victory. It is a quiet revolution that influences everyone you encounter. The first ripple appears in relationships. When you accept the fullness of your own nature, you stop unconsciously demanding that others carry your projections. You no longer need a partner to play the role of the angry one, the needy one, or the savior, because you have acknowledged those qualities in yourself. This shift can transform even the most difficult connections. Arguments lose their hidden agendas. Love becomes less about fixing or controlling and more about meeting another person as they are. Friends, family, and colleagues may sense this difference without knowing why. They simply feel safer, more seen, more free. The next ripple extends to community and culture. Many of the world's problems, prejudice, violence, exploitation, are amplified shadows. Societies, like individuals, project unwanted qualities onto others, outsiders, minorities, rival nations. When enough individuals confront their personal shadows, the collective has fewer dark corners to exploit. You may not end war or injustice on your own, but by refusing to demonize the other in your daily life, you weaken the patterns that sustain conflict. A single person living authentically becomes a subtle but powerful force for sanity. This influence also shows up in leadership and work. Whether you lead a company, a classroom, or a family, integrated individuals bring clarity and creativity to every role. Because you are not hiding behind a mask, your decisions come from a deeper intelligence. You can admit mistakes without collapsing, give feedback without cruelty, and inspire others without manipulation. Teams and organizations led by whole people tend to be more resilient, innovative, and humane. Wholeness is contagious. It invites others to bring their full selves to the table. Even strangers feel the difference. A calm presence in a tense situation can diffuse conflict. A grounded conversation with a cashier or bus driver can brighten a day. These moments may seem small, but they carry immense weight. Human beings are wired to pick up on emotional signals. When you embody acceptance and integrity, you broadcast a silent message. It is safe to be real. That message spreads far beyond words. Living with wholeness also reshapes your relationship to the natural world. Jung saw the psyche as part of nature, not separate from it. As you integrate your own wildness, you may feel a stronger bond with the earth, its cycles, its beauty, its fragility. Compassion for yourself naturally extends to animals, forests, oceans, and future generations. Choices around consumption, stewardship, and sustainability begin to flow from a deeper sense of belonging rather than guilt or obligation. This ripple effect is not about perfection or public recognition. You do not need to announce your journey or convince anyone of your insights. The transformation speaks for itself. People may notice a new steadiness in your eyes, a quiet confidence in your voice, or a kindness that requires no explanation. These subtle signals remind others of possibilities within themselves. Jung often said that the greatest contribution any individual can make to the world is to become whole. A society of integrated people is one where compassion replaces fear, creativity replaces destruction, and dialogue replaces projection. Your personal work with the shadow, though deeply intimate, becomes a gift to the collective. The journey of shadow integration is not a one-time achievement. It is a lifelong relationship. Every season of life, new careers, relationships, successes, losses, reveals fresh layers of the unconscious. What you meet at 20 will not be the same as what surfaces at 40 or 60. Integration is a practice of ongoing dialogue, not a destination. And that is its greatest gift. It keeps you alive to the mystery of your own unfolding. To walk forward with the shadow is to live with awareness instead of fear. You no longer need to hide behind a mask of constant positivity, nor do you need to dramatize your darkness. Instead, you cultivate a quiet alertness. When jealousy stirs, you recognize it as a signal of unmet desire. When anger rises, you listen for the boundary it is protecting. When sadness lingers, you treat it as a guide toward healing. Each emotion becomes a message from the deeper self rather than an enemy to suppress. This way of living demands honesty and humility. There will be times when you slip back into old patterns, times when the shadow outsmarts you. That's not failure, it's reality. Jung reminded us that the unconscious is vast and endlessly creative. Integration means accepting that you will never uncover it all, but you can meet each revelation with courage. Instead of chasing perfection, you practice presence. Instead of judging the shadow, you welcome it home again and again. Carrying this relationship into the future also means nurturing rituals of connection. Simple daily acts, writing a few lines in a journal, sitting in silent reflection, creating art, walking in nature, become ways of checking in with the deeper self. These practices are not escapes from life, but bridges between the visible and invisible worlds. They remind you that wholeness is built moment by moment, choice by choice. As you continue, you may notice how your definition of strength changes. Once strength might have meant never showing weakness, always winning, always being admired. Now it means staying open in the face of uncertainty. It means holding conflicting truths without needing to resolve them. It means choosing love even when fear whispers in your ear. True power is not domination but integration, the ability to contain the full spectrum of human experience without losing your center. Walking with the shadow also deepens your connection to others. Because you accept your own complexity, you can hold space for theirs. You become less reactive, more compassionate, more real. People may sense that with you, they don't have to pretend. In a world addicted to performance, this is radical. Your presence invites authenticity simply by existing. This is the quiet revolution Jung envisioned. Individuals transforming the collective not through grand gestures, but through the simple act of being whole. Every time you choose self-awareness over projection, curiosity over judgment, you weaken the old patterns of fear that shape society. Your inner work becomes an offering to the world, a ripple of sanity in a sea of chaos. So as you leave this journey, remember, the shadow is not your enemy. It is a lifelong companion, a keeper of forgotten gifts, a guide to the deepest truths of who you are. The goal is not to conquer it, but to walk beside it with eyes wide open. If this message resonates with you, let it be more than an idea. Begin today. Notice one hidden feeling, one quiet fear, one unclaimed desire. Sit with it, listen, and let it teach you. Share this video if you feel its truth might help someone else begin their own dialogue with the shadow. Welcome to the path of wholeness. Welcome to the life where nothing essential is left behind.